Alarming report out tonight starkly lays out the dangers faced day in and day out by those responsible for serving and protecting us. It shows an enormous jump from last year in the number of police killed in shooting incidents. The police advocacy group that put out this report fears that it's seeing on the streets what it is seeing on the streets lately is having an influence. Our report tonight from NBC's Stephanie Gosk.
Just this week, 2 officers were caught in gunfire in Los Angeles. And in Florida, a gunman fired on 2 sheriff deputies sitting in their squad cars. The motives are still unknown. A report out today says 126 in law enforcement lost their lives on the job in 2014, with a 56% increase in the number of police officers killed by gunfire in the last year. Of those, 15 were killed in ambush attacks. The total number of deaths is still below the decade average, but the head of the law enforcement group that conducted the report is concerned a growing anti-government sentiment may be triggering attacks.
Send those killer cops to jail!
There have been months of nationwide protests calling for police reform after the deaths of unarmed black men and what some call persistent mistreatment by cops. Are protests to blame for increased violence against police officers?
No. These protests have been centered around respect for human life, dignity for human life.
But many in law enforcement worry about isolated messages like this one in New York earlier this month. Some officials in New York blame protests in part for the murder of 2 NYPD officers. At the funeral for Officer Rafael Ramos, 19-year-old Justin Ramos wore his father's uniform, the same uniform that made his dad a target.
Every time I attend a police officer's funeral, I always pray that it will be the last. But I know it won't.
That same day in Florida, another teenager said goodbye to her father, police officer Charlie Kondek.
My dad died as a hero, but he was my hero before any of yours.
Families in mourning. Stark examples of what police officers put on the line every day. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, New York.